Okay, so what have I done in the past month? Because that's how long it's been since I made a video. So let's fire up the game here. So what we've done is, for one, building parts are now joined together. So you can see I selected the SFO airport, and all the terminals are all one thing. I still don't have like textures or models for the towers, so they're just orange things now. But we can see that we've created a tower, and it didn't put it here in the center of the building because there's already a building there. So we notice we have buildings over here, and we can create towers in them. So now the tower like strength is calculated from the building geometry. So we can see that for little guys, we have very small towers, and then for the big boys over here, you have this giant thing. Obviously, this isn't textured or a modeled yet. It's just the math is done. And SFO is kind of interesting. This is the San Francisco airport. It's special, like all things in San Francisco. And there's a building inside of the building here, which I didn't implement the ability selecting. Right now, my ray just kind of hits the outside of the building and it stops. So we'll have to work on that. But one really awesome thing that I'm happy about is that I now have the ability to draw lines and smooth like lines with curves and that kind of thing. So we can see that all of these roads are rendering. Before we didn't have roads. So it's really cool because basically we're building like Google Maps as part of our game. And we see we have a frame rate drop there, so we have to figure that out. Most of the time it's pretty smooth. When we load in new areas, it doesn't lag. But yeah, this is something I'm really excited about. It might seem like really small. Like, okay, you're rendering roads, like doesn't Google Maps and Mapbox and other stuff do that? But it's actually a really tough problem. And I'll link to the forum thread where I had to figure it out. But yeah, roads and waterways and stuff are done. So this is kind of SFO. So let's check out another city. We'll check out Redwood City real quick. So this is Redwood City, California. And you can see we're rendering this city correctly now too. And for the most part, it's pretty smooth. There's still some frame rate drops I'm just now noticing when loading some sectors in, so I'll see what's going on there. But yeah, we see that all the roads and stuff are all rendering correctly. I think one thing that we're going to do soon is that when you are actually playing the game, you're going to be like at a street level, right? And then you're going to have to be able to pinch zoom out to this view to do like strategic things. So right now, kind of everything is using the strategic style rendering. It's very basic. If you zoom out in an RTS game, you have a very simplified view of things. That's what we have right now. We don't really have the view of when we're like on the street. So I think that's something I'm starting on soon. I really don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I know that in both views you'll be able to, for example, take two buildings near you, link them. If I can select them, this mouse is, I switched to like one of these things, and finalize the link. What we'll do is we'll start building up our economy. I think you'll be able to do that in both views, whether in a strategic view or in the zoomed in view. Otherwise, or zoomed out view. Otherwise, this view becomes kind of useless. And yeah, that's kind of that. I guess we'll look at one more city. I would like to show you Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I guess. I lost all my editor configuration, so let's grab the latitude and longitude. We don't want the airport. It's kind of boring. We just want downtown Pittsburgh. You can't find Pittsburgh, really. Okay, cool. So let's just grab one of these things. And we'll call this Pitt real quick. This will only take a second, and we'll add in our coordinates. And run this. Okay, so we're in Pittsburgh now. Um, and again, like we were essentially building a game on top of a custom map rendering engine. Um, so this just looks like this looks very similar to what it would look in Google Maps or what have you. The whole building collapsing thing was really, really, I call it collapsing, but it's like you have multiple parts of the building and you want to join them. Um, before what you would get is kind of like building parts would be all separated, and it was all terrible. And now, like for example, I could take the stadium if I was down here on the ground on my phone, and I saw this. Let me remove this tower. I saw the stadium here. I could click it and I could take it. I also support grass and other things like that now. I'm not really rendering them because I haven't really found a way to make grass look good or fit the theme of the game, which is this kind of like cyberpunky kind of feel. So I don't really know how grass fits into the game. I support it now. We can see here we have the bridges and stuff rendering over. It was really hard to get, just to emphasize again, to get the roads to render. I had to port this giant library, this polygon offset thing. So the library is in JavaScript, which is a port of a C# library, and I ported the JavaScript one because I know JavaScript more than the C#. I guess I don't know. I didn't actually look at the C# library. I think that the C# library is really, really big, and JavaScript one's a little thing. Does this one thing I wanted really well. So I ported this whole thing, and it was really crazy because like this library depends on its own implementation, or it's very tied to a certain implementation of a red-black tree. So I also had to port the red-black tree library, which was crazy. But anyway, now we have roads, and stuff looks nice. It's kind of it. That's all I have. I think next I'm going to work on getting attacks and stuff working. Oh, there's more. So I'll obviously put more work into the actual code than these videos. Before I had lots of issues with like not being able to select buildings, so that's resolved. That was actually like probably more than a week of work. There were a ton of issues with that, and those are all resolved. It's actually a really hard problem, partially because of the way I get the data. You know, I get these things called feature objects from one of the APIs. I get the map data from a couple different APIs, and ID is not unique. I was expecting ID to be a unique identifier, but it turns out I have to combine it with other stuff. So that was tough. And yeah, it all works. If I create a different faction here, create a tower, see it doesn't attack for some reason. Oh, okay. It's because these creeps are from the same faction. I thought they were coming from this tower. I was scared. I was like, what? That's broken? Yeah, if I remove this tower, create a faction tower for number 1. I guess just nothing here wants to attack, but this one's attacking fine. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah, see, this one attacks. So why can't I create a tower here and have it attack? Interesting. Let's look into that. I think it's just a client-side issue. The server is going to be calculating the attacks and stuff just fine. I'm not editing this video. It's too much work. I spent time on this. So, yeah, that's it. Here's downtown in Pittsburgh with all its parallel styled glory. Just getting the geometry of things was right. To be right is so hard. So I haven't really put time into making things look good yet. But luckily I've picked... I did spend a time at a time just picking colors that would look okay just to show it off. But yeah, there's not a single texture in this scene. It's all just colors. Yeah, so that's it. So now I'm thinking we can actually start working on getting the gameplay working. So that's going to be coming up next.